After waiting for a very long time, Agatha All Along has finally confirmed that Teen is actually Scarlet Witch's son, Wiccan. The series is set 3 years after WandaVision and follows up the events of Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. In that film, Wanda used the Darkhold to search for a universe where she could reunite with her children, Billy and Tommy. Her mission was driven by the pain of losing the 2 boys she had created as part of the Westview Hex, which was a reality she ultimately had to undo after realizing it was not morally right. Now Agatha All Along picks up exactly 3 years after the events of WandaVision in order to revisit the residents of Westview, especially Agatha Harkness. In a major reveal during episode 5, we finally learn that Teen is actually Billy Maximoff Kaplan, Wanda's son reborn. Given we actually get to see only 5 seconds worth of his glowing blue superhero powers, I think we have to rely on the comics in order to really understand Billy's powers and what he's capable of as Wiccan. So without wasting another moment, let's discuss the anatomical feats of Billy Maximoff Kaplan. Before we go into our explanation, we have a very small request. If you like our content, please support us by subscribing to our channel. This is a small click for you, but for us it means a lot. Thank you. Let's begin. Who is Billy Maximoff Kaplan? If you're familiar with the story of the twin sons of Scarlet Witch and Vision from the comics, you know it's one of the most complicated storylines in comic book history. It involves magic, reincarnation, hidden identities, and a whole cast of supervillains. So I will make the daring attempt to break it down in the simplest way possible. Like every other tale, it all begins with a very unlikely romance between Vision and Wanda Maximoff. Eventually, after they get married, like many other young couples, Wanda and Vision also wanted to have children. But sadly, they faced a major issue. You know, Vision is a synthezoid and can't reproduce genetically. However, as things usually go in the Marvel Universe, the couple find a way around this by harnessing Wanda's powerful magical abilities and her mutant power to alter reality. Using these powers, she creates a pair of twin boys named William and Thomas. Tragically, it turns out that the twins are partially a manifestation of Mephisto, Marvel's very own devil, who secretly corrupted Wanda's spell to manipulate her, which is again something many power-hungry villains have tried to do over the years. Oh, and by the way, it was actually Agatha Harkness who pointed out that the twins were a manifestation of Mephisto's soul shards. She was a nanny to the kids back then, and noticed something really off with the kids. Ironically, Wanda even went through a full childbirth process, with Doctor Strange helping her along the way. But once their true nature was uncovered, William and Thomas found themselves caught in a dangerous game between powerful entities, which put Wanda's sanity at risk. Her magic was so strong that it pretty much distorted the souls she had used to create her children. While their diffusion helped defeat Mephisto, it also caused the twins to vanish, seemingly for good. After Mephisto and his servant, Master Pandemonium, were defeated, the twins sadly faded away as the spell that brought them into existence was broken. But that was not the end for Billy and Tommy. It was just the beginning of the complicated saga surrounding the children of the Scarlet Witch, as Wanda Maximoff's fragile mental state became a central theme in her storylines after that. This culminated in Avengers Disassembled and House of M, where the spellcasting mutant ultimately erased many other mutants from existence and casted a spell that stripped nearly 200 mutants of their powers, before vanishing without facing any consequences for her actions. She was driven in part by her anger over losing her children, combined with the trauma of being manipulated by various villains. This shocking turn of events caused the team to disband for several years. With the Avengers gone, a group of teenage heroes known as the Young Avengers formed. Now, years later, the twins were reborn, but they had no memories of their past lives, and were raised by different families. The soul of William was apparently reborn in Billy Kaplan, who was the eldest of the 3 sons to reformed Jews Jeff Kaplan, a cardiologist, and Rebecca Kaplan, a psychologist, who were living on the Upper West Side of New York City. Growing up in a normal household, Billy Kaplan had no idea of his connection to Wanda or the Avengers until the events of Young Avengers thrust him into the whole superhero world. While growing up, Billy had a tough time in school, often dealing with bullies because of his sexuality. One day, while sitting outside Avengers Mansion, he had a brief but memorable encounter with his favorite Avenger, the Scarlet Witch, who encouraged him by assuring him that he was strong enough to take care of himself. Inspired by her words, Billy decided to stand up to his bully, John Kessler. But during the confrontation, things took an unexpected turn when Billy's electrokinetic powers surfaced for the first time while trying to protect another student, and he nearly ended up seriously hurting Kessler in the process. Following this, Billy tried to find Scarlet Witch for guidance, only to learn that the Avengers had disbanded. Later, Billy met Teddy Altman at school, and the two quickly bonded over their shared love of comic books. Billy even started attending Teddy's football games, where he got to meet Teddy's mother. After the incident where Billy nearly hurt Kessler, it was actually Teddy who found him outside Avengers Mansion. During their conversation, they finally opened up to each other about their powers, and in that moment, they shared their first kiss. Pretty much one of the cutest comic book moments. How did Billy Kaplan become Wiccan? So, Iron Lad, who's a younger version of Kang the Conqueror, tracked down Billy using the Avengers fail-safe program that Vision had created in order to assemble a new team if the Avengers were ever destroyed or disbanded. Iron Lad asked for Billy's help to stop his future self from forcing him to return to the future, where he was destined to become Kang. So, that's how Billy, along with his new boyfriend Teddy Altman, joined the Avengers. To pay homage to the classic Avengers, and by taking inspiration from Thor, Billy adopted the superhero identity of Asgardian, and mainly focused on his electricity-based powers. However, during a battle with Kang, Iron Lad and Patriot urged him to tap into his other abilities. Finally, Billy admitted he was also a spellcaster and used magic to disable Fang's force field. It was actually Vision who later revealed that both Billy and Teddy are somehow connected to members of the Avengers team. After the battle, fellow Young Avengers Kate Bishop and Cassie Lang suggested Billy change his superhero name from Asgardian to Wiccan, so as to better reflect his growing magical abilities. And that is exactly how Billy became Wiccan. When Billy tried to come out to his parents as an aspiring superhero, they misunderstood and thought he was revealing his relationship with Teddy Altman, aka Hulkling. Although they were thrilled about Teddy and even joked that he would make a great son-in-law, they had no idea that their son was actually a practicing witch, in turn dating a shapeshifter. Eventually, the true danger of Billy's secret life became clear when the Super Skrull, Kl'rt, attacked their Upper West Side home in an attempt to kidnap Hulkling. That fight ended tragically with the death of Teddy's mother. When Hulkling was captured by Kree sentries, Wiccan and the rest of the Young Avengers realized they needed more help to pull off a rescue mission, so Vision suggested they turn to the Avengers failsafe program, which was the same system Iron Lad had used to find the original Young Avengers. This failsafe program led the Young Avengers to a high-security detention facility for superpowered juvenile offenders, where they found Tommy Shepard locked up. They decided to release him, and Stature quickly pointed out how much Tommy and Billy resembled each other, almost like twins. On the plus side, freeing Tommy proved to be a great move, as he helped them fend off both Skrull and Kree forces to rescue Hulkling. After the battle, Tommy officially joined the Young Avengers under the codename Speed. However, breaking him out of the facility came with risks, because releasing a detained superpowered individual could attract negative attention from authorities and further add to the team's already complicated situation. Despite that, Tommy's abilities were a valuable bonus added onto the team. During the rescue mission, Hulkling ended up saving the life of the Super Skrull, Kl'rt. In return, Kl'rt revealed a shocking truth, that Teddy was actually the heir to the Skrull Empire and the son of Captain Marvel. On top of that, he also revealed that Billy and Tommy were indeed the reincarnated twin sons of the Scarlet Witch and Vision. To confirm this, the current Vision accessed the memory files of his former self, which ultimately proved Kl'rt's claims to be true. The specifics of Billy and Tommy's link to the Scarlet Witch are a bit complicated, just like everything else in her family tree. It turns out that Wanda's original spell captured two lost souls and used them as the foundation for her magical twins. When the infant twins faded away, they didn't completely vanish, but instead, they were reborn at that very moment, as two living children to separate expecting mothers. Who is Billy Kaplan Maximoff in the MCU's Agatha All Along? As you know, in WandaVision, we saw Wanda, aka Scarlet Witch, use her reality warping powers to bring Vision back to life and put the entire town of Westview under a spell, allowing them to live out a fantasy world modeled after Wanda's favorite sitcoms. As part of that magic, she created two sons. Tommy inherited super speed like his late Uncle Pietro, while Billy showed abilities similar to Wanda's, although his magic glowed blue instead of her signature red. But just like in the comics, the twins were creations of Wanda Maximoff's magic, disappearing when her spell over Westview was broken. When the boys were 13, Wanda lifted the hex over Westview, which caused Vision, Tommy, and Billy to simply vanish. This set up the events of Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, where Wanda, desperate to reunite with her sons, turned to the Darkhold, which is a book of dark magic, in order to try and take her twins from a reality where they existed as real flesh and blood children. Well, if you saw the film, you know that things did not go according to her plan, and by the end, Wanda's journey led to her apparent death, which now brings us to Agatha All Along 3 years later, as Agatha Harkness breaks free from Wanda's spell and sets out to walk the witch's road in an effort to restore her full power. Initially, Wanda had cursed Agatha to live out her days as the nosy neighbor, Agnes, trapped in a warped reality. That is, until a young gothic teen showed up to free the witch with an incantation. We never find out much about this character because someone very powerful had cast a sigil on him, which is a kind of protection spell that stops Agatha or anyone from hearing any details Teen shares about himself. Still, we've picked up a few clues, as Teen mentions that he was originally born in the nearby town of Eastview, and something major happened to him when he was 13, which is the same age that Billy was when Wanda's fading hex erased him. When Agatha didn't know who Teen really was, he claimed he wanted to travel to the Witch's Road to gain power. But now, we have to wonder if his real goal is to bring back his mother Wanda, who supposedly died when the Darkhold Temple collapsed on her in Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. At this point, the whole gaining power thing feels a bit too simple, especially when Teen can already break a spell cast on Agatha by the Scarlet Witch, and it seems like there's much more going on than just a thirst for power. Now, the major Teen reveal came after the last Witch's Road trial goes terribly wrong, as he confronted Agatha about what happened. Of course, Agatha tries to defend herself, saying she had no control over the mistake that led to Alice's death, but Teen isn't buying it. He tells her she absolutely did have control, and when the others back Agatha, claiming they're all walking the road to grow their own power, Teen pushes back, saying he won't kill people just to serve his own goals. Hearing this, something seems to click for Agatha, and she shakes her head, laughing about how he was so much like his mother. But instead of handling things calmly, Teen unleashed a whole new level of magical power that we hadn't seen from him before. He took control of Jennifer and Lilia, forcing them to attack Agatha, eventually shoving her into the sinking mud, which then swallowed her in. Then he blasted the two of them into the mud as well, and as the cameras pulled back, we see Teen wearing a version of Wanda's Scarlet Witch crown. Whether he's known about his abilities all along and has been hiding them, or this was just a sudden burst of power, is still up in the air. Although one thing is for sure, this is the Billy Maximoff we had all been waiting for. Is Wiccan's reality manipulation the same as Scarlet Witch's chaos magic? Or has new info changed that? Even though Wiccan possesses a wide range of superpowers, the exact source of his abilities still remains a bit of a mystery. So far, his history suggests that he could be both a mage and a mutant. Billy's powers first manifested when the Scarlet Witch, after being influenced by the life force, used her abilities to heal him. Even if we accept that Wiccan is the reincarnation of Scarlet Witch's son, it's still unclear where his powers actually come from. If his reincarnation was purely spiritual, he wouldn't necessarily inherit his mother's mutant genes. Alternatively, Wiccan's powers could stem from a mystical birthright or be linked to Wanda's high status as a Nexus being. But like his spiritual mother, the Scarlet Witch, Wiccan's primary power is of course the ability to warp reality by manipulating magical energies. Master Pandemonium once mentioned that Billy's magic resembled Wanda's, and while it hasn't been definitively confirmed that he possesses any form of chaos magic, Wiccan has still been referred to as a chaos magic user, a chaos bringer, and even a son of chaos. However, recent developments in the Marvel Comics have introduced a lot of new information about chaos magic that might contradict these labels. Wiccan does not exactly rely on standard spells. Instead, he tends to improvise various incantations on the fly. This approach parallels Wanda's magic, as both of their abilities operate on a similar principle, by simply stating what they want to bring into reality. Even though Wiccan spells are typically quite powerful, their effectiveness can diminish if he's not fully willing to perform them, or if he's under a lot of stress. He can also use magic to boost his own abilities, or those of others for extended periods. Some of his notable spells include sensing the locations of others, levitation, thought casting, psychokinesis, astral projection, and even illusion casting. Plus, Wiccan originally learned to cast his magic through a self-taught method that involved repeatedly stating the effect or action he wanted to happen. Since then, he has evolved beyond this technique and can now use his abilities without needing to repeat those particular phrases. Although when Wiccan decides to tap into his demiurge powers, his reality-altering and mystical abilities greatly enhance to nearly limitless levels. This allows him to view different timelines, erase beings from existence, and possibly even rewrite the fundamental laws of magic across the entire Marvel universe. Imagine if we get to see Teen meet a similar potential. He would become a true icon indeed. Can Wiccan use his clairvoyance to locate and sense people or energies, even if he's not familiar with them? So, time and again, Wiccan has demonstrated the ability to gather information beyond his physical senses. With just a short period of intense concentration, he can easily gain insight into a subject's location and current state. However, it can be quite challenging, though not impossible, for him to locate anyone he does not know very well or is only loosely connected to. In addition to that, he can also track and sense the energy of others, or even the energy present in his surroundings. Can Wiccan manipulate elements like electricity, ice, water, light, and fire without using verbal spells? As Wiccan, we have seen Billy demonstrate the ability to influence and control various elements of nature, with his primary focus being his electrokinetic powers. He can manipulate, generate, and discharge energy such as lightning or electricity from his hands or other parts of his body. This allows him to control electric fields, charges, currents, electronics, and magnetism. But unlike his other spells, using his electrokinetic abilities does not seem to require any verbal components. To top that off, Wiccan can also combine his electrokinetic powers with his spells in order to perform them together seamlessly. We've also seen Wiccan have the ability to control, generate, and absorb ice, while being able to manipulate and control water. He can even project intense light that is powerful enough to repel symbiotes controlled by Null. And if that was not enough, he can also generate heat and fire. All of this forms into a perfect package that allows him a diverse range of elemental powers at his disposal. Is Wiccan's ability to heal others affected by his focus and emotional connection to the target? So, Wiccan has the ability to rapidly heal others through his spells, but the effectiveness of this healing can be significantly influenced by his willpower and his ability to focus. What I'm trying to say is, suppose he's trying to heal someone he does not genuinely care about, like an enemy. The healing might not be as effective as it would be for someone he actually feels empathy for. For instance, when he attempted to heal Teddy's mother, he struggled because the stress of the situation made it hard for him to concentrate fully on the task, and as a result, she died. In addition to healing, his magic also allows him to manipulate biological factors in living beings, including their age and health. How does Wiccan use his magic to enhance physical abilities, manipulate, amplify, or temporarily negate the powers of others? Because of his reality-warping powers, Wiccan can easily enhance the physical abilities of himself and others to crazy superhuman levels. We saw this ability come to light when he boosted his own strength enough to punch and injure Kid Loki. Wiccan can also use his spells to influence and control the powers of others to some extent. For example, he once granted Captain America the ability to fly for a limited time, and lent his powers to Kid Loki for 10 minutes. In addition to this, Wiccan also has the ability to negate or disrupt other people's powers, which we saw happening when he nullified Magneto's force fields and disabled Kang's energy bubble. I think even Agatha All Along's teen showcased a similar range of his powers in the last few moments of episode 5, when he pretty much took control of Lilia and Jen to push Agatha into the sinking mud. In what ways does Wiccan use his magic for teleportation? Wiccan can teleport himself and others over unknown distances using his spells, though the maximum range has yet to be tested. He also has the ability to teleport without needing to vocalize a spell, and can create portals for the same purpose. But that's not all. He also has the ability to travel between dimensions at his own will, and can even teleport through the known multiverse, because of his status as the Demiurge. This has further allowed him to open mystical gateways that grant access to other different worlds, places, and even dimensions. Apart from being able to teleport himself and others through different dimensions, Wiccan can summon and transport anything or anyone to his location. He's even combined his electrokinetic powers with his teleportation ability to call down lightning, which he then used to transport himself and his teammates to Wundagore Mountain. When he was known as Asgardian, he would often summon his staff as well, which sorta looked pretty dope. We've also witnessed him banish an object or being from one location to another of his choosing. However, Wiccan had to face a lot of challenges when he attempted to banish an interdimensional parasite known as Mother, and eventually he failed because he was severely strained after bringing her into their dimension. He again encountered a similar issue when trying to banish Loewe as well. Wiccan's telepathic abilities. While telekinetic powers are pretty generic, like the usual like his mother did, Wiccan can also propel, levitate, and manipulate literally anything with his mind. Still, it's his telepathic powers which take the cake. He can literally manifest and read someone else's thoughts in their mind. I think the main cheat code here was how he could read Teddy's mind, and sense the doubts he had about his feelings. He even made the bold attempt to dig into the Scarlet Witch's mind when he and Speed were searching for clues about their past. Just like his mother, Wiccan is a pro at casting illusions, meaning that he can easily make people experience or see things that are actually not happening in real life. To seal the deal, he also has the ability to influence and manipulate someone's thoughts, memories, emotions, and perceptions, which allows him to achieve various effects. For instance, he once offered to erase Executioner's memories after he confessed the truth about knowing Kate's secret. In what ways does Wiccan use his transmutation powers to alter objects, people, and even himself? Wiccan has the ability to turn, transmute, and alter anything into something else. He's even used this power to change his and his teammates' street clothes into their hero uniforms. In a comic arc, he'd even transformed a group of frogs back into humans right after the Enchantress had turned them into frogs. On top of that, his transmutation abilities allow him to transform himself into anyone he desires. How does Wiccan's Demiurge form amplify his powers to reshape the multiverse and prevent events like Ragnarok? Over the years, Billy's powers have grown so much that he was even considered for the title of Sorcerer Supreme, and he has even held that mantle in alternate future stories. It has also been revealed that he's destined to become the Demiurge, which is a physical embodiment of magic itself. This position is similar to the Sorcerer Supreme, but is held by different magic users at different times. Wiccan can easily tap into his true power by disconnecting from everything around him, essentially becoming a god. In this form, he gains immense magical strength, which allows him to defeat even powerful interdimensional entities like the Mother. While in his Semiurge state, which is the moment where he is halfway to accessing his full Demiurge powers, Wiccan managed to hold her at bay. Once he fully tapped into his true abilities, he was able to return multiversal versions of himself and the Young Avengers back to their original universe, erase Mother, and even walk through the multiverse itself. Loki has noted that with this level of power, Wiccan could stop all wars, prevent all things from happening, and even avert Ragnarok itself. At this point, Wiccan's destiny as the Demiurge echoes the concerns the Timekeepers had about Wanda potentially having children. They feared that if she did, it could lead to significant disruptions in the timeline and the fabric of reality itself. What other powers does Wiccan possess? Among his other powers, Wiccan has the ability to project his astral self out of his physical body, while allowing himself to explore both the astral and physical planes. He can also use his magic to bind and trap his opponents, with spells strong enough to restrain someone as powerful as the Sentry. Plus, he can also generate and manipulate energy to unleash blasts of concussive force in various shapes and intensities that include beams, bursts, bolts, and waves. Wiccan can even tap into his reality warping powers to explore different timelines, realities, and alternate universes, like the time when he was looking for another version of Teddy's mother. He also has the incredible ability to create anything from nothing, and the biggest example of that would be the time he used this power to whip up clothing, decor, objects, and even food to make his space in the Avengers facility feel even more inviting and comfortable. To top that off, Wiccan's power to generate and manipulate energy allows him to create solid constructs like discs, orbs, shields, platforms, and force fields. Because of his reality warping abilities, he can also disintegrate and simply erase things from existence. For instance, he managed to erase an interdimensional parasite like Mother, and easily disintegrated a group of parents with a surge of energy. Lastly, Wiccan can even fly on his own, and has even been able to grant others the ability to fly as well. I think at this point, Wiccan has only one weakness, where his spells stop working altogether if he cannot hear them. Even if he doesn't have to verbally say it out loud, his head has to think it out loud in order to manifest it. Is Wiccan immortal? Billy Kaplan, aka Wiccan, isn't technically immortal, but his powers and potential make the idea worth considering. Wiccan's future holds the possibility of becoming the Demiurge, which would make him a godlike being with the power to reshape reality. He already had a brief glimpse of that form, but he chose to step away from it, simply because he's not quite ready to handle that level of power just yet. While he isn't technically immortal at this stage, the fact that he's destined to become something so powerful hints that he could eventually surpass normal human limitations, potentially living beyond the bounds of typical mortality. In alternate timelines, like in Avengers: The Children's Crusade, future versions of Wiccan have been shown to wield enormous power, even implying that his potential might eventually exceed the boundaries of mortality. However, the mainstream 616 version of Wiccan has not been portrayed as immortal yet. As one of the most powerful magic users in the Marvel Universe, his abilities allow for feats that could extend his life or even make him appear ageless. Just like his mother's, Wiccan's reality warping powers are vast, and because he's linked to chaos magic, and even if he has not embraced the mantle, he may one day become a godlike being like the Demiurge. So there's a high possibility that Wiccan could achieve some form of immortality if he reaches his full potential. Who would win in a fight between Wiccan and Agatha Harkness? A fight between Wiccan and Agatha Harkness would be a fascinating event to watch, as both of them are powerful sorcerers with deep ties to chaos magic. But still, their experience and magical approach differ greatly. Agatha, with centuries of experience behind her, would come into the fight as a pretty powerful witch. She's lived since the days of the Salem witch trials, and has mastered countless spells, rituals, and various forms of defensive magic. Her experience grants her not just knowledge of arcane secrets, but also the strategic edge to manipulate the battlefield. Plus, Agatha is not just a spellcaster, she's also a teacher and a mentor, who often uses her cunning and foresight to bend situations to her advantage. In combat, she would exploit Wiccan's emotional vulnerabilities and his comparative lack of experience. Her hold of counterspells and defense could neutralize some of his more direct attacks, allowing her to gain the upper hand through sheer expertise and calculated moves. On the other hand, Wiccan brings a certain level of raw power to the table that is very difficult to match. As you already know, his reality warping abilities, tied to chaos magic, allow him to literally reshape the world around him, with just his sheer willpower and imagination. Unlike Agatha, who relies on centuries of accumulated knowledge, Wiccan's magic is far more flexible and unpredictable, as it is fully driven by emotion and intuition. Because if he can maintain his focus, he has the potential to alter time, space, and reality itself. This makes him a wild card in any fight, and even Agatha's experience may not be enough if Wiccan taps into the full potential of his powers as the future Demiurge. So despite his age, his magic can be world-altering when he's confident and in control. However, Wiccan's greatest weakness is his inexperience and emotional nature. Agatha, who is known to be manipulative and calculative, might easily provoke or destabilize him, causing him to lose focus. If Wiccan isn't fully in control of his powers, his magic can backfire or be misdirected, and this is where Agatha could find her opportunity. While Agatha might not match Wiccan's raw strength, her ability to outthink and outmaneuver him could tip the scales in her favor, especially if she uses her vast knowledge of chaos magic to neutralize his more aggressive spells. Ultimately, the battle would be determined determined by whether Wiccan could stay emotionally grounded and fully harness his powers. If he's able to do that, Agatha could find herself overwhelmed by his sheer magical potential. But if Agatha can play on his insecurities and youth, her wisdom and experience might give her the edge, turning a contest of magic into a chess game she knows how to win. It would be a match where both sides have a chance of victory, but the outcome would hinge on who can better control the flow of the battle. Even in Agatha All Along, we have seen Teen's sudden burst of power come only after Agatha provokes him. So if something really pushes his buttons, Wiccan can become powerful enough to make Agatha's body rot in a grave. So that was it for Billy Maximoff Kaplan's anatomical feats in the Marvel Comics. From the recent promos of Agatha All Along, we definitely know that Teen is indeed Wiccan, but even if he is walking the witch's road, it is not power he's after. So what do you guys think he's looking for? Will he be able to resurrect his mother from the dead? Most importantly, will he be able to match the iconic vibe of his character's comic book counterpart? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. If you liked our content, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to us if you haven't already. Have a good one and be safe. Thanks everyone!